gambling war stories for this wasn't intentional, Walter. We have a legitimate company, Toby. A chance to grow something. A chance to show.
Show who? Cabe? Your father figure that you've just been shaking your ass for since he wandered into the garage. Look at me, Dad.
How you doing, Doral?
Hey, hi, David. How are you?
Well, 2 meetings in 2 nights.
That's true.
Let's see, what was last night? Oh yeah,
Public was it
Works.
Public Works. How did that go?
It ended up pretty well.
That's good.
It's an interesting group to deal with. Smart people. Really, really smart people, but that's almost to their detriment because they all want to think, they don't necessarily want to get their hands dirty. That, and I kind of, I don't know. I kind of had to be strong in a few areas.
Well, hopefully you did, or you made it through it. You're here to know again.
I did it. I mean, the thing that's bugging me, and this is something that actually is bugging me in general, it's kind of why I got in Corbett's case a few weeks ago, is I wish that he could listen to himself during our meetings.
Yeah.
Because he comes across like he's trying to defend the developers. And what we need somebody to defend the city and to make it sound like he's defending the city. And not necessarily for me, because I know he is. But the residents don't get that impression as they listen to him. They just think all he cares about is, being buddy-buddy with the developers. And so whether it's the road finishing contractors or whether it's, Summit Creek or whatever. And the thing is I know that Corbett's not that way with them.
Right. He's pretty strict with developers that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's terrific, but it doesn't come across that way. And that's a problem.
Well, you're gonna hear pretty much what Craig told you over again tonight. Only he's not going to be on tonight, so I'm your guy tonight. I hope Chris Helvey gets on, but
if that's the cloud, or if that's the case, that's fine, because I keep the notes. I do the minutes for this group.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, that's my job. I kind of have an easy job.
Well, you're kind of busy if you're doing it 2 nights in a row.
Well, they this particular group asks good questions, and they're pretty smart, so I don't have to worry about that as much.
So it'll have Mike Taylor and you, and who else?
And John Chamberlain and Newt Adams.
Okay.
So
I don't know those two very well.
Yeah. So Newt actually lives kind of over in your neck of the woods. He's just below Clark's.
Oh.
You know where Keller Clark lives?
Yeah.
And he's lived in Woodland Hills longer than I have, so quite a while. Really bright guy. And then John Chamberlain is over in Summit Creek, and another really, really bright guy. He's kind of the one that I don't want to bring up anything that might bug you, but he's kind of been filling us in on, just some of the feelings over there and how they've been doing. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, good. And there's John right now. So
Hey, guys.
Hello, John.
let's see. I gotta go here. And finance committee meeting 9/29. That's tonight, right?
Last I heard.
Oh, every time I do this, I have to kind of remember how to keep the minutes, which sounds silly, but it's true. I work with software all the time, and this user interface is not the most intuitive.
Oh, I thought you just used that fancy iPad looking thing and write on it with a pencil. I've seen you do that.
Yeah, I do that a lot, but I can't do that with this, sadly. I wish I could.
I do that way too much. But I'm doing that tonight too, so.
So how are things going over there, John?
Good.
You keeping busy?
Yeah, keeping busy. Yeah, we're doing a lot of things over there. And so it's going well. Getting tired.
Is it the kind of fall tired because it's
No,
shorter days, less light?
no, just getting, well, I'll just say this. You take it how you want. Getting sick of people. And when you work in the people industry, that makes it for a tough day.
Well, if you're getting sick of people, that's when you need to get some animals.
Yeah, that's true. But I can't make money with animals, so. Yeah, I'm in a bind. It's a problem that I have right now. Oh, well. No, things are going fine. Yeah, I'm just getting tired.
Wow, sounds like he needs to join the campaign. Golly, I've had some long visits, and I've really enjoyed them.
Have you?
Yeah, it's quite interesting how people think.
Yeah, and they've been coming to my door too, some people, and
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, I've got to have a change of attitude because but I'm doing okay. I told my wife 2 weeks ago, I just said, I'm getting to where I just hate talking to anybody at work because I'm sick of all their problems. And so she jumped online and booked us a trip to Hawaii. So,
go.
Saturday morning, I'm taking off.
Cool.
I'll come back a different man then.
Yeah, that ought to cure you. Yeah.
So anyway, no, things are fine.
Well,
Mike, haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, I'm just communicating with Newt right now. He couldn't find the link anywhere, and I told him it's at the bottom of the agenda, but
You want me to forward my email to him?
I just sent mine. Maybe you
Oh, okay.
send yours too. Mine's syncing or something. It's not sending it too quick here.
No, I can forward it. He's on there.
Mine's gone. Mine went.
Oh, okay.
hey, Ted, long time no see.
Yeah, seems like these meetings are getting pretty regular, David, for us.
Well, I will say this, I've seen you more than my wife the last 2 days, so.
Yeah, I know. That's same here.
And you're not nearly as pretty, so.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. I'm feeling bad for you, David.
Well, yeah, it's not been fun. She's taken classes up in at the BYU Salt Lake Center.
Oh,
And so Tuesdays and Wednesdays, she gets on the train and goes all the way up there. So anyway, doesn't get home till pretty late.
wow, that's too bad.
My heavens, look at Newt. He's sitting right at the base or a little
Yeah.
bit further than the base, but he's right underneath Loper.
You
And
know,
it's
the look, the
It's
thing that-
daylight at his house.
I was gonna say, the thing that's great about him, he's got daylight all year long. All
Yeah.
day long.
Yeah, that's great.
It's either that or the mess behind me.
So is Chris going to be on? Has anybody heard? Everything was emailed to him, but
I hope he is by the time it comes to us, but
Just
I heard he was going to.
okay. He's usually good to jump on here.
I think I'll even text him and get you an update.
Okay.
I was gonna text him, Doral, but you can text
Okay.
him too.
Yeah, let's
Thank
hit
you.
him.
Or
both of
maybe
us.
all three of us could text him and that'll wake him up.
Well, I was gonna stop by and say hi to you the other day. I saw that all the doors were open over there at the city center, at the garage
Uh-huh.
doors. I
Uh-huh.
pulled in to stop because I don't go by there that often. Then I realized, yeah, none of them know me. So what's the point of going in and saying hi? But
but-
see, it goes back to that same old story, you know.
Well, if you're looking for some people to like, you should come see us. Now I know you. I would introduce you. One of the
Yeah.
smart guys on the finance committee, right?
I pulled over and then I thought,
Oh.
what am I doing?
You stop sometime. We'll make you a firefighter.
Next,
That's
next
why
time
I
your
don't
doors,
stop.
next time the doors are open, I'll swing over and stop.
That'd be great.
Is Chris in St. George? Yeah, is he down there or is he in town?
He is, or Hawaii. I can't remember which. I do think he's doing an audit in Hawaii for somebody.
Thanks, Doral.
Oh. That's tough duty.
We'll have John say hi to him when he's over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go do that.
Which island you going to, John?
We're just going to Oahu.
Well, good. Go have a good time. That's a fun place.
Yeah, it's my second favorite island.
Go to Hanama Bay and do a little snorkeling over
That's
there.
right.
Yeah, it's too crowded over there. I try to stay away from all those spots.
I think now you have to have a permit or something to get down into there. I heard that somewhere, I think.
Yeah, they only limit so many people, so you have to go in advance. It's yeah.
Well, we could probably get some of these preliminaries out of the way in a minute, if that's okay. And we're waiting for Chris. Is that legal to do, David?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, we can go ahead without Chris for the entire meeting, but
Yeah, we have a,
it just means Doral has to give his spiel once again.
well, we'll call the meeting to order. And have you all had a chance to review the August 11th minutes? And if so, I'll call for a motion to approve.
I approve.
I second.
Okay. John made the motion. That was an informal motion, but it was an understood motion.
Yeah.
It was very clear. I'll be better next
Enthusiastic.
I
time.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Ted, we'll turn the time to you so you don't have to stay on very long. I promised you we wouldn't take much of your time. So we just wanted an update, if you could, on the road projects. And the council thought it'd be a good idea for you to update us on that.
Sure. Yeah, and David's seen this bill already once, so you've had time to think about it. Feel free to interject. Can I share my screen, Mike? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Super. Yeah.
Which, Ted, I know that you're still kind of working on this, but I can't even begin to tell you how useful this information was last night. So
Yeah, great. We'll go through it so you can kind of see where we're at, and we're looking pretty much at final numbers right now. So I think this is going to be pretty close to where we're going to end up at. So we'll talk a little bit about we really had kind of 3 projects going on in the city, and each one of these boxes represent a project. So the big project we had going on was the water line replacement project phase 1. And I'll show you a map of that in just a minute. But the total final project cost of that was 3.673 and some change million, as you can kind of see in that corner up there. And with that project, we replaced 4.1 miles of existing water line. You can kind of see the numbers there, 39 hydrants. We did 141 service connections, so new service connections to homes, valves, 6 PRV stations, and about 2.5 miles of roads under the water project, road pulverizing and repaving. And where that funding came from is we got 2.969 million from the state at a 0% interest loan, and then $341,000 in grant money from the state, and then the city's contribution, 363,971, which came from the water revenue funds or water revenue or replacement funds, because a portion of that was money that was going to go towards Spring back before the fire, Spring Drive, to redo that water line when they were saving money to do that. So I think that's where a portion of that came from, and Chris would maybe have a little better information there, but. So that was the phase 1 water line replacement project. And then kind of while we're in the middle of that phase 1, the state called out and they said, your city has some bond money left over from your well project if you want to use the rest of it. We had about $250,000 left from the well project. And so we decided to do a little more water line with it. We ended up doing about 1,500 more feet of water line. And this was a portion of it on Maple to fill in a gap between 2 8-inch lines where there was a 6-inch. So we put a new 8-inch in to fill in that gap. And then a portion of settlement that had 6-inch line in it. And then the rest was 8. So we just got the whole thing at an 8-inch now. So that was about 1,500 feet. We actually ended up putting this out as 2 different bid schedules because we only got about 250 to spend, and that included the engineering and everything. Just in case we didn't want to see where the bids came in and see if we didn't want to spend the money. Ultimately, it came in around 320, and after reviewing the city financing, it looked like we could just go ahead and do both. So about 255,000 of that came from the well bond money, and then about 65,000 from the city water. And then the last project is the roadway project. So with the road bond money, city council approved to do some more, to do pulverize and repave all the roads that were impacted by the water line project. So we went ahead and put out a roadway project, and we did about another 2.3 miles of road pulverizing and repaving. And that was around $430,000. And that's coming out of the road bond funds, of which I think we have right around 655,000 in that fund. So that's kind of a financial summary of where we ended up on those 3 projects. Like I said, they're just wrapping up on the project. So I think that's pretty much going to be the final numbers.
I have a question, Ted. As I recall, the phase 1, we estimated that, or I thought it was going to cost around 3.2 million. So it ended up costing us more. Is that?
Yeah, so what we did, Mike, is initially the project was 3.2 million, and we went to the Division of Drinking Water and actually got 2.9 million, of which 300,000 was grant. So the actual 0% interest loan was 2.6 million, and then the city was going to contribute 300,000. That came up, so the 2.6 plus the 300,000 grant plus the 300,000 city put us at 3.2. During the course of the project, we decided to, rather than just trench patch the roads, wanted to pulverize and repave the entire road width. So we went back, put some numbers together, got approval from the city council, went back to the Division of Drinking Water and got another $400,000 from the Division of Drinking Water, of which they gave us 41,000 of that in grant money, and then another 369,000 in 0% interest loan, so we could pulverize and repave all the roads.
Great. Well, big project. Big project, and we appreciate all your work on this. Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, so phase 1 is now complete or not quite?
Phase 1 is complete. The contractor right now is just finishing up some, we call them punch list items. All the water lines and services are hooked up. It's operating. Everyone, the new pipes all in place, and the system's operating. Right now, it's just they're finishing out some last cleanup and punch list items. So, and then
this is a curiosity question, Ted. Did they pull the old pipe out, or did they leave it in the ground?
No, yeah, they left the old pipe in. It's just because this new pipe went in the opposite side of the road. So, I mean, it would just be, and we typically don't abandon, or we don't pull old pipes out when we replace with new. We just abandon them in place. It's a lot cheaper to leave them there than to try and pull them out.
Well, I haven't seen any pictures of Corbett out patching pipes for a while, so it must be working.
Yeah, yeah.
So how many 6-inch line do we still have in the city, or has it all been replaced now?
No, well, no, it has not all been replaced yet. And that move kind of leads to my next, Mike, if it's okay, I'll just go right into that next item, talking about the project phasing for the water line projects. And this is on the agenda as the phase 2 and 3.
Yes.
So we, as part of a water planning we did kind of a water line phasing for the entire city, put together numbers. So looking at this map here, initially it was broken down into 3 phases, the water line replacement. Phase 1 is the one we just completed, and that's everything in the dashed yellow lines, which was all old 6-inch line. Phase 2 was to replace the remainder of the 6-inch line, which is the stuff in red and in orange. Now, the reason that was going to be phase 2, initially it was all one big phase, but we just recently, which is the next item on the agenda, went after some funding through the American Rescue Plan Act. And in order to give us a better chance at getting funding, we broke phase 2 up basically in half. So it's a phase 2-1 and a phase 2-2, or however you want to call them. That's just kind of how we call them, just to denote the difference. So what you see in red is phase 2-1. What you see in orange is phase 2-2, and they're about $2.5 million each. And that will, those 2 projects replace the remainder of the 6-inch water line. So there's about $5 million in water line replacement projects left to replace the 6-inch. And this right here, so when we broke this up into the phase 2-1 budget, which you can see came in about $2.5 million. And the phase 2-2 budget came in at about $2.5 million. Then phase 3, and this map actually has the numbers on it down here. Phase 3 is a future phase, which is essentially everything in Thousand Oaks, which is the newer pipeline. It's probably not as urgent and may not, it's still got some life left in it. I believe it's also PVC pipe rather than the old ductile iron. To replace that eventually, right now in today's dollars is about 6.3 million. I don't suspect that one's in the near future, sometime down the road. Would be, the cost to replace the phase 3, which is basically, like I said, Thousand Oaks.
It's been in the ground since what, 2003, 2002, something like that?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they actually started on the development in the late 90s and then kind of built it into the 2000s, early 2000s.
So it's not, I think the other was close to 45 years old, wasn't it?
About 50, yeah, 45, 50 years old.
Years
And
old.
that was the old iron pipe. An iron pipe, especially back when they installed it in the early 70s, in corrosive ground, they didn't take as much protection as we do today when they did that. So it wasn't protected pipe. And you know, I'm surprised it made it this long in some of the pictures we saw. And this newer pipe that's been put in with Thousand Oaks is PVC pipe, so it's plastic pipe, and typically they say the life on that stuff is, you know, upwards of 100 years.
Oh, so we're in good shape in Thousand Oaks then, aren't we?
Unless, now I'm talking with Corbett, some of it may be ductile, not sure, but
Some of it might be what, Ted?
some of it may be iron pipe in Thousand Oaks. Not entirely positive, but even then, if they put this stuff in the late 90s, early 2000s, what we learned, and when I say we, the industry, because in the late 70s I was an engineer, or in the early 70s I wasn't an engineer, just an engineer in diapers. They started learning that putting plastic, they call it polybagging, but it's basically a plastic bag around the pipe, helps extend the life of iron pipe. So I suspect even if it was iron pipe that was put in the late 90s, early 2000s in Thousand Oaks, they probably put some polybagging around it, you know, given the timing of it, which will protect it and help it last longer.
Right.
So then just the last item, not to take too much of your time, but we did just recently apply for some funding too. So as you might be aware, the federal government gave each of the states some money under the American Rescue Plan Act. It came directly from the federal treasury to the state governor's office. And so each city, and it was really earmarked for infrastructure. And so each city could apply to get some of that. It was $50 million. They could apply to get some of that. So we put together an application for about $1.5 million on phase 2. And then if you know, we could possibly chase some more funding with that if we need to with drinking water or something like that. But anyway, we submitted an application for about $1.5 million. I found out in talking today with one of the state senators, they received applications totaling somewhere up to about 600 million in requests, and they've got about 50 million to give out. So, you know, likelihood you probably got a small percentage. Now he did say that the state is getting more money that they're going to transfer into that fund, so they're going to have more than the 50 million, but they don't know how much right now, but probably not 600 million.
Well, just decrease Provo and Salt Lake's requests and we'll have enough money.
Yeah, no kidding. I know one request that went in at 30 million, another one that went in at 20, probably around 20 million. But,
Ted, it appeared, sorry, Dave, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
I was just gonna make a comment here, Ted. It appears that phase 1, the miles on that, or the linear feet that we did, is that phase 2 and the 2A and 2B, whatever you want to call it, it appears to me it's probably close to the same distance as phase 1. Is that right?
yeah, so if you go back to phase 2-1, there's about, what's that, not quite 2 miles. 2-2 is, what's that about? So it's about 3.5 miles, it looks like roughly.
So why is it costing us that much more to do than it?
Well, so a couple of things is, one, when we put together estimates, money always kind of makes me nervous because people look at numbers and they say, oh yeah, phase 2 is going to cost 2.35, 400,000. This is an engineer's estimate. We're doing our best to estimate costs. If I were to give somebody a number, I would say it's going to cost you between 2.2 and 2.7 million, because this is not a hard bid number. this is just an engineer's estimate. It may end up costing us less. I don't know right now, but I always plan for more, especially when you're requesting funding. Because if you plan to be able to repay a funding, that if you plan to pay something back that's more than you actually need, then obviously it's easier to reduce your costs than to find out you need more money and increase your costs.
Right. I agree with all that. I just looking at the mileage here, the linear feet that we're doing versus phase one. And it seems like if we spent 3.7 on phase one, that means we're doing less and spending more on phase two.
Yeah, yeah. You can see if you look at my subtotal construction cost, it's around 2 million on each one. So, you know, we're around the actual construction dollars they've got is about 4 million. Now, once again, this includes also project costs, you know, legal, engineering. You can see I've got a 10% contingency in there, just, you know, to add contingency. So it may end up costing less, you know, but we're always going to try and plan for more. And if we get to do and if we get to do more water lines, say we plan for 2.5 million or 5 million for the total of the phase two, and we get bid costs at 3.5, 4 million, you know, and we've planned for 5 million, we do another mile of pipe or something.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This was a lot of work. This is very well done. I love the map too. Would you be willing to send the committee these numbers?
Yep. Yep.
Email it to us or email it to me and I can forward it on to everybody.
Sure, sure. And can I just maybe cover one more thing with the finance committee and get your thoughts? And this is something I talked to Chris about the other day as well. Maybe get your thoughts, because I talked to staff about it, and their recommendation was to talk to the council, the finance committee, and actually the public works committee, but I forgot to bring it up last night. So the road paving project was the one that cost us right now $430,000, and that's coming out of the $655,000 of road bond money we have. I've got too many spreadsheets going now, I can't even find where they're at. We had one issue come up for one of the property owners, and it's one that's been an ongoing problem for a while, from what I understand from staff. And it's a property owner on the corner of Woodland Hills Drive and Broad Hollow. They have two driveways, and they're right at the bottom of Broad Hollow. They have culverts under the two driveways that keep getting filled up with dirt, and one of them's been smashed a few times. I don't know how. They claim it's through city projects. I know Craig's been up there a few times and said he's had to, you know, open them with, uncrush them with the spreaders and stuff like that. So anyway, and one of the culverts that they have is really an undersized old PVC pipe. So one of the things we thought about doing is maybe let's see if we can solve an issue here. It's really not completely a city issue. It's probably more of a property owner, but maybe we can solve one that would help staff out. And that is by replacing, basically we'd have to cut out the end of one of their driveways. It's a paved driveway, take out the old culvert. That's a small 8-inch old PVC pipe, put in a new 15 or 18-inch corrugated ADS pipe like we use nowadays, rebury it, kind of grade it out nice, which will allow us, give it more space for that stuff to flush through, which probably doesn't help Woodland Hills Drive much, because then that's where it's going to ultimately end up for now. But, and then, and kind of get that all fixed up, maybe save some issues on them contacting the city as well. Anyway, bottom line is it's not really a construction issue. So we had the contractor just give us the cost to do that. Their cost to do that was $8,000. If we wanted to do that, the money would come out of that. So right now we've spent $430,000 in that road bond fund. The remainder of that money, is earmarked for West Loafer, to complete West Loafer. Right now, we're really close with the remaining money to be able to do the city's proportionate share of West Loafer. If we did this for this property owner, took that $8,000, what it would do is it'd be $8,000 less we would have to do West Loafer. And I was just trying to find that spreadsheet, David, that I was showing last night, where we were looking at the that cost.
I'm just curious, Ted, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but would that cost have been less had we just replaced that when the road was all torn up?
Well, it probably would have. It probably would have been about $1,500 less. What it would have saved us is the mobilization cost. There still would have been a cost to, and really most of the cost in this is to remove and replace the driveway, which still would have had to been done, a portion of the driveway. And that's about, of the 8,000, that's, I don't know, probably 3. And then the culvert, to buy the culvert and install, it's about another $3,500, something like that. Then I think there was about $1,500 for them to get all their equipment back up there, remob or mobilize all their equipment there. So it probably would have saved us that right there.
I think I know which lot you're talking about, Ted. It's that lot just as you turn up off of Woodland Hills Drive and start up Broadhall. It's on the right-hand side, right?
Yeah, it's all reds.
You'll see the boss.
Yeah.
So
There have
just to
been-
give you an idea of what's going on there. So here's, if you can see my screen still, here is the 430,775 that we spent on the road projects to date that I showed you that number earlier. So what I did then is I took that number and I deducted it from the road bond funds that's in that, that's part of that $655,000. We have a cost to do Loafer. This is the city's essentially proportionate share to do West Loafer. We had a contractor put together a cost for us to do the project. So if you take the 655 minus the 430 we've spent on the road project, and then minus the cost to do West Loafer, the city's portion of West Loafer, we'd be left about $22,000 short. Now, once again, this is engineering numbers, and kind of like I was telling them last night, what I do is you can see I add in a 12% contingency just because we never know where the numbers are going to come in at. So this was the contractor's cost, was at $220,000. And it's not, I told them give me a cost, not a bid cost, but a real cost to do it. I added another 26,000 just as a contingency number. And if that cost came in around there, we'd be about 22,000 short. So if we take another and add another 8,000 to that 430, so it's 438,000. Now instead of being $22,000 short, we're $30,000 short. If the costs come in right where we've projected them to come in with bids. Now bids could come in lower. Oh no, you can see I have 26,000 in contingency in there. So wanted to run that by the finance committee, get your thoughts if we spend that $8,000 to have them do it. Now at worst case, the contractor's got to come up and still expose their, because their culverts got buried as part of the road project, and we know that the contractor's aware of it. At minimum, he's got to come up and unbury their culverts, the ends of their culverts. We got to check the one to see that it wasn't crushed. And then he's going to grade back in a V ditch between their two driveways. The V ditch is not part of the 8,000. That's his to do either way.
Is this the project that we heard about, gosh, a year ago? And the city is already committed to doing it with him, wherever he was or whoever the owner was, or is this something different?
That was the Mitchells, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. That was the Mitchells.
Okay.
So, I can tell you how I feel. As you know, I don't think the city should be in the business of replacing people's culverts when, you know, they put in really, really lame culverts to start with. So I'd be good with just the contractor uncovering them, putting in the V ditch, and calling it good for now. We know that that road is one of the prime roads that causes problems when we get rainfall with water management. And so we'll probably have to end up doing something anyway. So I'd rather just kind of put the big project off until we are doing the rest of it.
I do agree in some sense that I hate setting a precedence. The city sets a precedence that, oh, you're calling, I got a crack in my driveway. I mean, that's a stretch, but if we got to replace it anyway, it's just nice to get it done.
I think if the road project caused some of the problem, then I think we would have some obligation there to do some of it. And, but David's right, we can't do it for one and not another. And so's John. John's right on that too. We've got to be fair with everyone. So what's your thoughts, Chris?
I thought it was kind of a stretch when we did the Mitchell's driveway, to be honest with you. And so I'm trying to remember back. I believe the city does have some culpability in this, at least one of the driveways. I'm just trying to remember when it happened.
Yeah, the lower one that Craig's had to been up there and get the spreaders and open that culvert back up. Their claim was that was a city that sometime it was before the road project. At some point, the city did that damage.
And then remember one time the tanks overflowed many years ago and washed a whole bunch of water down by what was the Bergey's old house down Broad Hollow and just totally plugged up everybody's culverts along the way. And I don't think the city cleaned that out for months, if not even longer than that. But you're right, we can't get in the habit, or the city just doesn't have enough money to fix everything.
Mike can pass along one more piece of information that may or may not affect your decision. And I don't know how much of this to reveal right now because I don't want to make it sound like it's something that will be done, but could be a possibility. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a second part to the mitigation project that's being studied right now under some funding that was received from the federal government. As part of that, the original mitigation project, they gave us some more money to do some planning for additional mitigation work. That's under works right now. We've completed that planning for the Woodland Hills area, and this is the Broad Hollow Basin up there right above the tank, which could, if the city decides to move forward, could be a basin that would collect both flood mitigation and avalanche coming out of that drainage. But as part of that, the federal government requires that we mitigate that water all the way till it is no longer a threat to structures. And to do that, we have to build the basin up there would have to still release some of the water. And so we would have to route that water basically all the way down Broad Hollow and West Loafer to the drainage. Let's see, no, Broad Hollow goes across to Oak, right?
Yes.
So we have to go Broad Hollow down Oak and then dive off maybe at Autumn Leaf or somewhere right there and then drop it back into the drainage, that big drainage that's down there. So that would require us to pipe it down the side of the road, which could then alleviate all of the Broad Hollow drainage issues.
Is there a way to put a pause on this and let them know until the study's done? That gives us more time to think about things, or is that just kicking it down the road like everything else?
Yeah, and that's, something that Susan, the Allreds haven't been pressuring, they've been really good about this. They just want, so when they called up, because their culverts got buried, which we knew as part of the road project, and that's all got to be taken care of. Where their caveat came was, or their little bit bigger concern was that culvert that got crushed. And we haven't uncovered that one yet to see what kind of condition it's in. Craig mentioned that if it is gotten smashed again, we can take the spreaders up there and spread it back out again and get it all rounded out for them again or whatever. But is what he's done before. So, you know, maybe one of those things where we can see where this other mitigation work goes. Because if that mitigation work does go, if the city decides to do that, these culverts will be likely taken out anyway.
I wouldn't do anything till we get that study back, so we may just be wasting money.
And the study will be complete by January, end of January. It's kind of the schedule now. And we're kind of working through the benefit cost analysis right now to determine if it can be 100% funded by the federal government.
So here's what I would suggest we do is, again, let the contractor do the work that he's obligated to do. If we need to get Craig to spread those out, fine. You know, that's kind of a patch fix for now. But honestly, that's as much as I really think the city's obligated to do. But what we can tell the All Reds is that, you know, the reason we're just doing that right now is because there's this other project that may happen. We can't promise it's going to happen because we never know. But I think, I don't know. I just don't think we can really get in the business of fixing everybody's culverts, especially when that metal culvert of theirs has been in the ground now for at least 30 years. And the fact that that metal is even holding up at all is a miracle.
And you know what, I like that because by that way, in this case, there's a good chance it'll get fixed, but yet we're not saying, you know, we're responsible here, let us set a precedence. That's my biggest fear. It could get out of hand pretty quick, I'm sure, if we.
For everyone that under builds their culverts.
Yeah.
And a snowplow might drive over anytime during the winter, then all of a sudden they can all say, well, the city did it and you've done this before. It is kicking it down the road, but it's nice that they might have a project that the government will pay for that could actually resolve this issue.
Yeah, it could resolve a lot of problems on Broad Hollow. But that's not a guarantee, that project. So
Yeah.
You know, my thought is obviously, you know, I just like to present the information, let the powers that be make the decisions. If I were to give a recommendation, that would probably be my recommendation. Pause, do what the contractor needs to do, pause on the other until we figure out what's going on with the work that's going to be done. Because it wouldn't be very prudent to come in and spend all that money to fix it and then a year down the road tear it all out.
Right. Sounds like it's a consensus on the committee that we would recommend that we do that to the council and not get in that set of precedents and setting and fixing those culverts, and hopefully project goes through and it gets fixed. If that's going to be a doable project for us to come to be. That sounds like a lot of project. Run a line all the way down from the tanks clear down. That's a long way.
You know, and interestingly enough, the estimate on that project is about half of what we spent on the water line project to do that entire thing, including the basin. So
you're not going as deep though, or you're not going that deep, are you?
No, and one other thing that I don't know if got planned in yet because we're still in it's still in the. So right now, what we're doing is you do enough planning to figure out the environmental impacts. It's called a planning and environmental phase. And so it's really not into detailed design, but you know, there could be some catch basins, you know, grates put along the road to catch road runoff and which would solve everyone's drainage issue along that road and where it crosses Woodland Hills Drive too. So there's ways to do that. So it hasn't been planned that far in advance yet, but which may increase that cost a little bit, but it's
a lot of dynamics when humans decide to live up on a mountain. Okay, anything else? Ted, any other questions from the committee?
I have something for Ted, and I don't know how we you apply for this money that we get from these different agencies, but I was responsible for watching a Water Smart kind of tutorial on how there's money available through the Water Smart program, Bureau of Reclamation. And I was just curious if you guys have ever applied for monies through their some of their 3 different programs they have.
We do that. In fact, their next applications are due November 5th, I believe it is.
Yeah, there's a November and there's a December for
Yeah.
different things, right? One's environmental, one's for drought, one's for water, energy, and efficiency.
Yeah, and we do quite a bit the water, energy, and efficient one. In fact, I'm working on an application for another agency right now. It comes out, you're right, through the Bureau. It's under the U.S. Department of Agriculture through the Bureau of Reclamation. And then they got an entity called Rural Development, is who the grants go through. And we do those quite a bit. I'm working on one right now. Those Water Smarts are they're highly competitive, and you really have to demonstrate, at least on the water and the efficiency and energy ones, that you are you have a project that really promotes water conservation, water accountability, and most often what gets those type of projects are if you're going to implement secondary metering for irrigation systems, if you're piping irrigation. So like, for example, the one I'm looking at right now is a irrigation company that irrigates in Salt Lake through all open canals, and they want to pipe it and put meters on it. Ideal project for that type of funding.
Right.
Those types of things are really usually eligible for that, and are good grants. We, like I said, yeah, we do them every year. We probably apply for 6 or 7 or 8 of those. You know, we usually get 1 or 2 of them.
But so you guys are aware of it, and as we come to you and present you different ideas, you know that's one of the options that you can use, but you obviously know which ones will probably work and which ones are a waste of your time.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to Corbett the other day about something he had in mind, which I didn't think was probably a great project for the Water Smart, maybe for a different funding. There's some, we were counting them up today. There's some 100 and something different funding sources for communities. It's amazing how many funding programs are out there. But yeah, if their ideas, pitch them at us. We do these. We work with pretty much every funding agency in the state, quite a bit, and pitch them at us, and we have contacts at all these agencies. We can run them by them. So, what do you think about this idea? Is it worth us turning in an application? Because those applications take a lot of work.
Yeah, it's pretty intricate how they rate everything, and so how they score it all. Anyhow, I just was curious because I was assigned to present to the committee some thoughts. So
and if you have any questions, ideas, give me a buzz.
The idea that I had for that particular funding, and I don't know whether this is how Spanish Fork did it or not, but I know Spanish Fork was handing out sprinkler controllers to all of their residents that were the smart sprinkler controllers. So they were, tied to the internet, and they could
weather and
weather-based models and all that kind of thing. And I thought, that'd be kind of a nice thing that the city could do if we could get a grant that would allow us to purchase those and then give them to residents, especially since we just raised their water rates. We could say, well, look, we're trying to help you save too. But I don't know if that's how Spanish Fork did it or how they actually did that.
And there is, I can maybe, Dave, talk to so Central Utah Water Conservancy District. You can do a program through them online right now where anybody can go in and you can go buy the controller, submit the receipt to them, and they have on their website the brands that are eligible for this program. But you can go buy one and submit the receipt online to them, and they'll reimburse you for half of it. But in addition to that, Central Utah has grant money. I was just talking to them, good timing. I was just talking to them today about it. They do offer grant money for various communities, and especially those within their service area, which Woodland Hills is, for things like that, for irrigation controllers, secondary metering, and a few things like that. They will offer it on a local level, similar to what the Water Smart program and some of those are. I'll be seeing that guy again tomorrow. I might can just bring it up to him, say, what are your thoughts? That's actually a good idea. I mean, to see what they might have available too. And maybe a lot of times we'll apply through multiple funding agencies to try and use multiple sources to cover costs. So maybe where we can ask Central Utah, get some contribution from them, and then maybe go to rural development and ask them, talk to them about getting some funding through their Water Smart program to do it. But yeah, these are very, I mean, these applications take us hours and hours to do. They're not simple applications. So you want to make sure you've got a good project because of the amount of effort that has to go into applying for it.
Okay.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
One quick one. Corbett has gone around previously. I think he's talked to a couple council members, and I'm sure he's brought it up to Ted that he could do the Loafer Drive for about $100,000. I just want to dispel any rumors or get any thoughts on that. His thoughts are not having to need to haul out so much dirt and not to lay as thick as asphalt. So I want to bring that up just in all fairness that he has brought that out. I'm not in favor of that. I'd be more in favor of doing it an engineered way, but just in case he comes and talks to any of you, he can do it cheaper, but it's a different method.
Good point, Chris. I'm glad you brought that up. And Corbett knows my feelings about that.
Yeah. He's heard my feelings too.
Yes. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Yeah.
The first time.
I'd hate to see us do it and then do it doesn't last.
Yeah, I personally, I hate that when we do a project and we dig it up.
We call that the Syncrete. If you guys remember that one in Salt Lake when they put that new concrete down and they pulled it up like 6 months later.
Oh.
Mhm.
If you remember that one, Syncrete, it was just like a debacle that.
Waste of money.
Yep.
Does Corbett have equipment to do that?
Well, Ted Hanks does.
Noel Hyatt.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, sorry, Noel Hyatt.
Oh, does it come from Noel? Okay.
Yeah, Noel's got all kinds of equipment, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does.
Noel and Corbett get talking, and pretty soon you have an idea.
Which means Corey will do it, but yeah.
Are we grinding up the pavement when we go down it?
There's no pavement on it.
Yeah, it doesn't have any on it now. And maybe just to further explain why too, that I don't think what that idea is going to work is that $250,000 that's the city's proportionate share to do West Loafer. That's only half of the street. The other half is Summit Creek. And it's another $250,000. I mean, the total road project itself is almost $500,000. Half of that's the city's share and half of it is Summit Creek's share. So, and I don't think Summit Creek, I think they would rather do it right. And so if they're going to be willing to do that, I think the city should be willing to just get the whole street done right.
Yeah. Yep, I would agree. Personally, you were right the first time. All right, any other questions? If not, we're going to go on to fire.
We love
Early.
fire.
We'll give you the floor. We love
Okay.
it. We love fire in the right condition, right?
Right.
So I
So
love that we're past the fire severeness, I guess, or whatever.
I'm your guy to talk about this. Craig was his family got together and purchased, he and his wife, Doobie Brother tickets for their anniversary. So that's where he is right now. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Man, I'm jealous.
Ted, you can leave if you'd like, but you're welcome to stay. So.
Oh, I got to listen to Doral. I'm going to be Doral's heckler.
Well, and I enjoyed Ted too. I thought that was very interesting. But now this is even better. Okay, Ted.
Being part of the fire, I'd have to agree.
The real good news I have tonight is we now have a final number on the best option we have found for the city for a new fire truck. You probably are aware over 2 years ago, we started looking for a new residential engine We have trucks for wildland and we have engines for houses. The two trucks in the past have always been separate. They're just a different way of fighting fire. So we were looking for a new engine at first, and we found another option that would work a lot better for us, and it's called a Type 1, Type 3. In other words, it's a house fire truck as well as a wildland fire truck. So it makes a lot of sense for us. So we looked into that option very, very thoroughly. The difference in a fire truck that's doing a house is they typically park before they can spray water. This other truck is a pump and roll, we call it. We can drive along the road while we're spraying, or we can park at a house and hook to a hydrant and spray as effectively as an engine. So we got interested in these two trucks or these type of trucks, and we went to two different companies, Rosenbauer and Pierce, and had them give us a bid, both companies. And we were very interested in those bids, and we kind of put bells and whistles on it to try and see what it would cost. And both Pierce and Rosenbauer came back with a bid. We liked what we saw. It's cheaper than an engine. Both bids were. And then we got interested in trying to see what these machines look like. And so we took a couple of trips. We went up to Wasatch Fire, located in Midway, and met with their fire chief. They happened to have a truck from each of the two different companies. And it was really valuable for us to see the two trucks side by side and talk to their firefighters that run these trucks. And to make a long story short, these firefighters came out and they said, you know, this truck over here is just like your engine now. It has the same controls on it. So the Pierce one looked a whole lot like our existing engine. In fact, I could have walked up to the Pierce and got water out of it without any training because it's so similar. The Rosenbauer choice had some European panel, and even the firefighters there said it takes a lot of training to get our firefighters using this truck because it's just different. There were like two big white buttons, and I don't know what you do with those, but somehow you get water out. So they were very helpful. They let us look thoroughly through both trucks, and then the chief comes over and he says, "Hey, and by the way, we've ordered a third truck." And we said, "Well, what type did you buy?" And he said, "Well, we bought a Pierce." And that taught us a whole lot about what he knew through his experience, live experience with going through the obtaining of the two different trucks and then actually using them for about a year. So they loved the Pierce, and so we took that information and went back to Pierce and said, okay, we want to change a few of our options and see if we can get the price down to beat the Rosenbauer price. And it turns out that we don't need a big generator on our big truck anymore. Generators were for running different types of lights, and well, now they're all LEDs. And so the new truck has an LED light system. And so it takes a lot less power. So we took off the generator. We took off a couple other things that we didn't need. We had, for example, an automatic ladder unloader kind of a system, and that was an expense. But we found the ladder position in the Pierce engine or the Pierce Type 1 was really, really handy and right there at chest level, so it's easy to use it. So we took off some stuff and we got a bid back from Pierce, and I have in my hands the actual document with all of the specifications and all of the different pieces of this engine, and it comes to $413,000. we like it. We really like it.
Which it used to be 500, and I think when we first presented, it was over 550,000.
Right.
The one we
Right.
presented a couple months ago. So
Right.
significant savings.
Right. So we like this truck so much. We said, well, where is one just like the one kind of that we specified that we could go see? And he happened to have one up in Neola, Utah. A very, very small fire department. We met the chief up there and he let us drive his. That was the type 1, type 3, very similar to ours. And we drove it up and down the street. We looked at it. We talked to the chief about how much they like it and how it's going for them. One of the things he said that was very interesting and very important to us is the service that Pierce is giving them. And we have seen good service from Pierce as well. He said they had the truck for a couple of days and they noticed one of the lights in one of the bins was out. And the chief called Mark and says, hey, can we get it? We just ship me a new light and I'll put it in. And Mark says, I'll have a guy at your station tomorrow morning. And so immediately the guy shows up the next morning, replaces the light problem, and they are on their way. So that chief up there spoke very highly, as did the Wasatch people of the service that Pierce gives them. And that's critical for us to not have our trucks down. So there's a lot of features on this truck that I don't think I'll bore you with, but it does have a shorter wheelbase. It fits our city perfectly. You use it, as I said, on brush fires as well as house fires, pump and roll. So we're quite excited about it. As I said, the total was 413, but you need to put equipment on a truck. There's a page in this plan here that lists what we need to buy as far as hoses and nozzles and deck guns and all of those things that are included. They're not included. We've got to add those to the price. And so we got a list of all of those things, and the total comes to about 460,000. But we also need to equip it with SCBAs, and those go on at $7,200 a piece, and we need 5 of those. So Chris knows the magic of financing this through the resources that are available. We want to lock the rate probably, but I'll ask Chris to talk a little bit about maybe what the next step is.
Next step needs to go to council, get council's approval on it, and then get them to basically give its approval. Then we can go to Zions Bank and formalize agreements with Zions Bank. As of today, the rate would be for 10 years, 2.62% interest for the 10 years at $470,000. If we do go above $500,000, so 500,000, we drop a quarter point at that rate, that would add about $1,200 per year to our payment and interest. So right now, 470,000 at 2.62% interest would be just barely over $54,000 a year. No down payments, no anything like that. 500,000 would be, like I said, about 55,200 per year at 2.12% interest. If we closed today, rates did jump a 0.25% in the past 2 weeks. So rates are a little bit on the rise at the moment, but that just kind of gives you guys an estimate of where we are today on rates through Zions Bank, our financial advisors.
So basically, we're looking at a 10-year loan. Now, this wouldn't be secured by any of our revenue streams. This would be secured by the truck. Is that correct?
Correct.
Like an auto loan.
Yep.
So
When we talking about getting 2 trucks?
I think
Well, we would keep our current engine as a second place engine and put it's 12 going on 13 years old now. And it, we can't have anything fail when we're doing this kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and it's still a good truck. it takes a little more maintenance as they age, but
It's just not a frontline one.
right.
It seems like you're gonna be so close to the 500 mark anyway. Throw in a hose or two for extras and let's save the
Some
quarter.
packs or
It's gonna pay for itself.
I think that would be
I
a
think
good idea.
Craig's thought is to go ahead and let's do the 500,000. He's working that way he can get some new SCBA packs. The current packs we use when we go on house fires are actually coming out of warranty and they're not being made anymore. He's working on a grant to get those replaced. However, in the event the grant doesn't come through, he would like a funding source. So we have some tanks that are certified when we go inside house fires or fight a car fire.
Well, you're close enough. I mean, I know it's, 0.5%, but 0.5% will, that pays for those things.
Yeah.
Times over 10 years.
Craig was nice enough with me yesterday to take me through and walk me through the whole thing on both engines and show me the numbers and everything. What I can vouch for is that between Doral and Val and Craig, they have done, and whoever else has been on this project, they've done a ton of homework on this. They're not going into this blindly. And if the council feels like we need it, I think this is probably the best thing to do personally, as I've looked at it. I would certainly vouch for that as a member of this committee and be willing to tell the, as long as everybody's in agreement, is report to the council that we're in agreement with this to move forward when we're ready to go.
Maybe give you one more piece of information. If we ordered it today, we would receive it about 17 months from now. So it's probably important to lock in a rate if Chris advises us of that, and maybe I don't even know if you can start making payments on it, but it might be a good idea. Just
currently
throw that.
We used to put 50,000 away. Then last year we weren't able to put 50,000 away. This year we put 50,000 away again. So we're kind of in the method of putting money away anyways. This payment would be about $6,000 higher a year than what we've been putting away, which is reachable.
Well, and this committee already decided that we needed it, I thought.
Yeah. We just want to come back and
all you're doing is coming and saying, let's pay a little less. And
Yeah.
100% financing. I mean, there's not a whole lot to decide.
Thank you for reading into that.
Will the bank loan money on a non-receipt item?
I need to double check with the bank on that. And we get a $9,000 discount by paying for the chassis up front. So maybe we would get a partial loan for this with deferred payments. And I'll double check with that and get that ready for council's approval if and when this gets on the agenda.
Yeah. Well, the city needs fire protection. There's no question about it.
Yes.
We're in a very vulnerable area, and
It seems good in that the price of this truck is less than one home, in our city by far. So, and I'm just glad we did, Mike, look hard and diligently at all of our options on this, and I felt good about it too.
What's the useful life on a truck like this?
We figured 10 years, and then you need to start considering, like we did on our last engine, to move it in second place.
Got pumps that start burning out, valves.
where are you gonna park it, Doral?
We have a room. There's right behind it won't be behind anything. It'll be right in front. And we have that little orange pickup. I think we're gonna have to let go. It's a little cheap.
No, you can't let the
I
pumpkin.
know.
No, we need Kit Corbett out and get him his own place. So
That's sentimental
Yeah,
feelings.
that pumpkin, if you need a place to park that, Doral, let me know. That pumpkin truck, we gotta hang on to that one.
That was
I
Ted.
love the light on top. It Gomer polish. It's pretty cool.
That was mine and Mike Myers' truck during the fire, man. We grew some sentimental attachment to that.
That's right. That's right. Well, very good. Any other questions that we have for Doral? Nice presentation. Thank you.
I got a lot, but
Yeah, I'll take questions from everyone but Chris.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Well,
for bringing
thank
that
you.
up.
Obviously, somebody's gonna have to go to Florida and drive it home.
We
Well, I don't
appreciate
want to
this.
drive, I don't want to drive it home. I'll go to Florida. I don't want to drive it home.
What are you gonna do? Just go and look at it and then come
Yeah.
back?
I'll do that.
We'll get a seat for you then.
That sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
committee. We
right.
appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Doral. Chris?
Yep,
Budget,
ready?
just quickly give us an update.
Okay, I actually sent a little more of a detailed for the August one in the email that I sent out to everybody, and that's basically what I was going to highlight. But there was 8 points on the email that I had sent out on September 17th. If you had any questions with regarding to that, it's pretty easy part of the year starting so far, but we are starting to get some imbalances in our revenues, collecting more money than it anticipated. And then there was one expense that was appearing to be higher, but that is typical because we have to front load some purchases at the beginning of the fiscal year. But otherwise, the budget's going pretty good through August so far.
A problem of having a little more money come in is a good problem to have.
Well, it depends who, yeah, let's don't get political here because there's some people that disagree with that. So,
Oh, well, I'd much rather have more money coming in than well, maybe I shouldn't say anymore.
agreed. I agree.
We all agree with you, Mike.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay, well, we're gonna move on here. Anything in our departmental budgets for the fiscal years or any concerns there, Chris?
None right now. No.
Okay.
Not that there would be a concern, but just I hope the finance committee's prepared to kind of do the same thing they did this last year in working with the departments to get a budget put together and presented probably March-ish. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, we want to be able to be hitting it from, well, that's now, but if they're the new mayor, it could be at their prerogative, but we definitely don't want to go past March.
March for the next fiscal year? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So basically, go work with the different departments, get their proposals in so that we have it all put together by March, and then we can let the council tear into it. And
wouldn't we probably approach that in probably January?
That's when we did it last time, January, 1st February.
I just don't know when we're gonna meet next, so I thought I'd bring that up.
November 17th or something.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and look at all my emails, but I think that's about the timing of it.
Yeah, it was the 17th was what you put down, November 17th.
Oh, our next meeting's on November 17th, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't.
That's a good day.
Does that work out for everybody?
Is that your birthday, Dave?
No, that's when my daughter Erica is due with our first grandchild.
Woohoo.
Oh,
That works.
that's
That is
pretty exciting.
So stinking fun.
I'll be free because Tamara's
Right.
gonna be gone.
I just had my 4th grandchild and I'm telling you, that is the best thing since sliced bread. That is so cool.
Man, I must be an old man here, you guys.
Yeah, you're old. You don't remember how good it is.
I got 31 grandchildren.
Oh,
We just had our 31st.
good for you.
That's pretty exciting around here at Christmas.
I'll bet.
If you get bored. All right. What else do we have here? It looks like, and it appears the rest of the agenda has been covered. Are you going to cover some numbers with us here, Chris?
Just the next question was about money being transferred from fund to fund or year to year, and just wanted to show you that it is.
Okay.
So that's all I'm bringing up. We did calculate the monies that went into fire capital, EMS, snow plowing. This is the money we're trying to save each year now. So it came out, this is the general fund where the money originated from. And then we did go ahead and plop it in each of the different accounts. So it is being taken out of everybody's hands pretty much. But just so you know, it's not restricted by policy or ordinance. So the next council mayor could come in and just grab all that money and do whatever they want with it. So intentions are awesome, and I'm fully supportive of this, but just know it's not restrictive at all, and somebody could do whatever they want with it with city council approval.
So the really sacred funds that cannot be touched or moved are water funds, right?
For the most part, yeah. And general funds are sacred also, but yeah, water funds.
I
can't be
know they're
spent.
all sacred, but I mean, but as far as being really controlled and not being able to, borrow from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, you
Yeah.
really can't play a lot around with any of that. Not that we're playing around with any money, but you can't, you really have to keep the water funds in the water department.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this agenda that we need to talk about? Is there any other items of possible discussion? Oh, security cameras.
Oh,
Did
yes.
Wendy sign that?
I've got an update for that. Yeah, we've paid our 50% down, and I've spoken with Ryan. He will start coming and pulling wire in 3 weeks. He's placed the order for the cameras. They're about 4 weeks out. So I would guess by mid-November, we should have a system up and running. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't have Doral get off. One thing he's got a question on is he needs fiber to the pole at the park, and he's trying to figure out the fiber at the water tanks. And we have not run the fiber all the way to the water tanks yet. So I'll get with Craig on that. And we do have a link up there that can be used, but I'll get with Craig on that.
I had a resident ask me about the security cameras and asked the question, is the camera at the water tank going to be one that moves or spans?
We will not probably disclose what kind of cameras are going to be at the security points.
Okay. Very good.
Unless council wants to say something different, Dave, I just wouldn't recommend saying anything about any of the cameras.
And is that in anticipation of issues, Chris, or requests, or?
We're going to be it's just security. And so I don't want to give any security information out. There will only be 4 people that actually have the logins to the cameras. And it's the same 4 people that have had logins to the cameras for the past 8 years.
Although it's pretty well known that the cameras that are currently at the water tanks are movable and controllable. And that's how we've been able to spot several fires. So anyway, I think that's fairly widely known, but
okay.
Yeah, I agree that especially in some areas, what would be ideal is if people actually didn't know that there was a camera there.
I had hot shots in my backyard and I had 400 pictures of them. I won't tell you what we caught some of them doing, but
watering the trees, I'm sure. So
they had no idea they were on camera.
You can just tell that person that they will be zoomed cameras right in their house. So we had that with a resident who does not live up there anymore, but he was very worried about that. And we're like, we got other things to do than spot those.
Yeah, no, it's just security for the water system and the other areas in the city that we determined to put them. So I imagine there's going to be one at the mailboxes.
Mailboxes, park, water tank.
Right.
And the city, wasn't there one in the city? Yeah.
I think there's gonna be a couple around this. There's some already there. He came and installed for free last year, but I think he's gonna put another 1 or 2 on the outside.
So does Summit Creek run their own camera system?
They do. When Don Meekum owned it, he said we could have access to it. Since that whole thing changed hands, I have not spoken with Steve Dickert or any of those guys.
Would it be worth talking to them, Chris?
Possibly at some point we might want to do that. I'm not seeing the benefit today with the system they have.
Okay.
They're just
I'm
really looking at their
actually-
mailboxes.
I'm actually going to be with Bucky tomorrow evening if you want to bring something up.
Okay.
Or I don't need to bring anything up.
I would imagine they have one at their mailboxes and
They do, and I think that's monitored or recorded.
Yeah.
probably the swimming pool and things like that.
And-
They should.
Yeah,
As
and then
they
the one point at John's house, but yeah, they were good otherwise.
I've got 3 pointed at my neighbors. We're a wide open family over here.
Yes, we're all good community.
All right, gentlemen,
Hey,
anything?
Mike?
Yes,
Just on the truth and taxation hearing,
yes.
so just to report, there really was very, very little feedback that we received during that meeting.
I was in the meeting.
Yeah, it was very little feedback. It's been kind of interesting, and political season is always this way, where people tend to make things political issues when they could have made it an issue 2 weeks before and didn't. But anyway, I think overall, the path that the city has been on, which is to try and not have huge increases, but just little ones over time, I think is a better path than what we used to be on, where it was kind of hit and miss and huge increases when we got them. So anyway, that's what I would recommend that we continue doing. But again, that's going to depend on things moving forward. So.
Yeah, I did have a question, Chris, on budget. Now that I think about it, I should have asked this prior, but as our legal costs leveled out at all, or are we still?
More complaints have been filed against the city, so by the same family. So the legal costs are still there. The insurance company is still covering a lot of those costs. They're still determining if they're going to take on these next 2 cases. Okay, yeah. And then the city time, we just received 2 more grandma requests this week from the same family that Jody and Corbett are having to work on. So no, the costs have not subsided. Just as public record, the city did win the first round of the complaint. The judge made a ruling that in favor of the city. So the first lawsuit has been settled or
Dismissed.
dismissed. Thank you. So the next 2 are being worked on right now.
That's great news, though. Good news.
Well, I'm glad the city won the first round. Hopefully they'll continue to win.
Well, and
But you never win, right? You still lose.
The lawyers
and
win.
that's the biggest thing that we so as far as like winning, the city got it. The dismissal was a summary judgment, meaning we didn't actually go to a full trial. We just did a summary, and the judge basically threw out the case.
Right.
So that's good news. But again, it's, just to kind of answer some of the residents' complaints, it's something the city had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we could have settled earlier because there was no settling. This was, it was the suit was filed almost a year ago, and then just got put off by the suing party, and then finally went to trial. When I say went to trial, it went to the initial hearing for a summary dismissal, and the city won that. So it had no merit. It got dismissed at a summary level, but still the city has to respond to those kinds of things. We can't not respond, and honestly, settling wasn't really an option either. So anyway.
Well, and the other thing to be aware of this, are some political candidates out there are saying that they will be able to settle the lawsuit if they get in by mediation. And unfortunately, that's a misnomer, because once the lawsuit's been filed and it's been turned over to insurance, it's almost out of the city's hands.
Right.
It's not 100%, but it's almost out of the city's hands. So
Well, like from a financial point, I'm just concerned with as a committee on the finances, and we just want to be aware of those, and there's nothing we can do about it, so it's something we have to litigate.
Yeah.
Pay for litigation on. Okay, any other comments? I don't think there's any public on here, unless if there are, I hope they'll speak up if they have any questions or concerns. If not, date of our next meeting, November 17th at 8 p.m. We all good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Newt, do you want to make a motion that we adjourn?
Yes, let's adjourn. It's 9:20, an hour and 20 minutes.
And John, you'll second that, right?
Oh, always.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, everyone. We
Okay,
thank you,
appreciate
guys.
your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Good.